This question was already asked in UPSC last year, I think. Yeah, in last year mains, the UPSC asked a question that elaborate the scope and significance of food processing industry. So guys, if I have to explain, so the question was elaborate the scope and significance of food processing industry in India. There are two important words, scope and significance. What is the meaning of scope and significance? See guys, this is suppose food processing industry. Question is, this industry manufactures tomato ketchup. UPSC asked a question that why do you think this type of industry can be established in India? All the factors which can help to establish this industry is called as scope. So can you please tell me what is the scope to establish this industry? Obviously you know it, you are smart kids. So there are two types of scope. First is raw material. You know that India is one of the largest producers of fruits and vegetables in the world. You name any crop, rice, wheat, cereal, fruits, vegetable, marine product, meat products, poultry product, our rank is 1 to 10 in the world. It's very simple. You name the product, our rank is under 1 to 10 in terms of production. India does not have a problem of raw material, isn't it? Yes. But why do you think India does not have a problem of raw material? Because our climate, our water, then soil condition, everything is favorable for various types of crops. So that is why raw material is not a problem for us. Labor force, by God's grace, India has a population of roughly around 143 crore. We have just beaten China, right? And at least in one thing, I can assure you that China cannot beat us now. In fact, nobody can beat us, which is population. Congratulations to all of us. I know you have not contributed, but still, right? Because we are #1 country in the world in terms of population, by God's grace. So labor force is not a problem for us. Now, raw material is there, labor force is there, capital, cash. Yeah, of course we have capital. How do we get capital? Because the government of India has designed so many schemes where they provide capital. Banking system is also ready to help. Plus, next point which is important is government support. These are the factors which help us to provide inputs to the industry. But why do you think that there is more scope of this industry? Because India has a huge population, so there is a demand also. So, what is the scope of this industry in India? If somebody will ask you, beta, what's the scope? What should you say? You should say, okay, what are the factors which can help us to establish this industry? There are two factors which are required to establish the industry. First, somebody should supply the inputs. So, raw material is the input, labor force is the input, money is the input, government support is the input, right? And somebody should demand it. So, there are two types of scope. One is supply of inputs and second is demand of output. So scope is there. What is the significance of food processing industry in India? Significance means once the product like tomato ketchup is ready, then what are the benefits that India can get out of this tomato ketchup? So guys, what are the benefits? So you know that employment can be created, isn't it, in this industry? Our GDP can rise, export will rise. Farmers will get the benefit because farmers will directly sell the tomato to these industries, isn't it? So that is also there. Then our food security will improve. So if somebody will ask you what is the scope, what should you say? Scope means who are the people who provide inputs plus who are the people who will demand these products. That's your scope. And what is the meaning of significance? Significance means once tomato ketchup is ready, then what are the advantages that India can get? That's significance. So inputs is your scope plus demand of the product is your scope, and significance means what is the advantage that India will get. So this is how you had to answer that question in UPSC 2022 GS paper 3 mains, that elaborate the scope and significance. Now, if you just write these points in the exam, you will not get marks. The reason being, there is no data, there is no fact, there is no connection between any point. So if you are writing the same point as UPSC answer, you have to put in some data, you have to put in some facts, then your answer will become a brilliant answer. Let us see how. So guys, if somebody will ask you what is the scope of food processing industry, there are two types of scope, supply and demand. What have we mentioned in the supply side? See, supply side, we have mentioned that there is no problem of raw material in India. Why there is no problem of raw material? I told you, because our climatic condition, soil condition, agriculture condition is favorable. That is called as agroclimatic zones. What is agroclimatic zones? India has been divided into roughly 127 agroclimatic zones based on soil, temperature and climate. And every zone is suitable for a different type of crop. So we have 127. Some countries in the world hardly have even one type of zone, but we have 127. Plus we have a long coastline, 7,400 kilometer coastline, right? Which means that marine products are also not a problem. So raw material is never a problem. Remember, shrimps, labor force is not a problem, government support is also there, right? Now have a look at the demand side factors, guys. See, if you look at the demand side factor, you can see that India is highly urban country now. Because from rural, we are becoming urban over a period of time. Very fast we are becoming urban. Now, there are 2-3 interesting things about India. India is becoming urban very fast. Number 2, India is very young. When a country is very young, that country is very ambitious. So even if I bring this digital pen in front of you and tell you, beta, this is a chocolate, many of you would like to try it. Why? Young, ambitious, we take risk. In these kind of countries, which are young and urban, a lot of companies would like to test their new products. So they will bring their new chocolates and they will say, India test. Right? So young India, middle class. Roughly, 1/3 of India's population is middle class. And middle class people, the husband and the wife, they both work. They don't have time to cook food. So what will they eat most of the time? Maggie. Maggie is a processed food. Now look at nuclear families. What has happened? Parents are staying somewhere else. Children are staying somewhere else. Children are staying somewhere else. So the son and the daughter does not meet the parents every day, and the parents don't meet their parents every day. So everybody is busy in their own life. That's nuclear family. So in a nuclear family, what do people normally eat? Processed food. So there is a huge demand. Now, taste and preference. There has been a research which has been done in developing countries of the world, and it has been found in that research that in last 30 to 40 years, in most of the developing countries, including India, there has been a change in taste and preference. What change in taste and preference? So initially, developing country like India, they used to love rice, wheat, and cereals a lot. Now, what are the developing countries eating? Instead of rice, wheat, and cereals, they prefer to have protein. They prefer to have fruits and vegetable. So this is a change in taste. Now imagine, guys, if everybody says, I need fruits, vegetable, mutton, fish, eggs, all these things. Do you believe that this can be sold in the market in the raw form all the time? Not possible, because they are perishable items. So what is the new taste of India? New taste of India is perishable item. And how do you sell perishable item? You sell perishable item through processed industry, food processing. So there is definitely a demand of processed food. Now, export potential of India. Why do you think India's export potential is good? Because India produces most of these processed food items at very low price and of decent quality, good quality, except some examples which we saw. So in India, since labor cost is not very high, and we are one of the largest producers of agricultural products because of raw material and labor cost, these two reasons, our product price is relatively low and quality is decent. That's why, there is huge demand of Indian products across the world. So that's your supply side factor, that's your demand side factor. These two are called as scope. So if UPSC will ask you what is the scope, you have to write all this.